Ever feel like you're doing all the right things and still wondering why your body feels off? You eat well, you train hard, your labs say you're fine, but deep down you know something's slipping. You're not alone and you're not crazy. I'm Daniel Rasmussen, founder of Echelon Center for Longevity, and I've spent 2 decades helping high performers like you to reverse aging, reignite vitality, and finally get answers. On Unbreakable Vitality, we go upstream. We talk peptides, stem cells, precision diagnostic testing, reversing the age of your arteries, all the innovative science-based tools to take back your health span so that your next decades are your best yet. Because aging is real, but decline is optional. Welcome back to Unbreakable Vitality. I'm Daniel Rasmussen, founder of the Echelon Center for Longevity. And I'm going to do a recap on episode 1. If you caught it, you already know that this show isn't about vague advice or feel-good fluff. It's about truth, precision, and clarity. So in our first episode, I shared my story, how I lost faith in a medical system that waited until my family members were basically already in crisis to act, and how that moment lit the fire that led to everything I'm doing now today. So in today's episode, we're going to begin to shift that mindset, because if you want to optimize your health span and reverse aging, it all starts with knowing what's happening inside you. What's happening inside your arteries specifically right now? So we're diving into the heart threat scan. I'm going to be talking about this. It's a non-invasive vascular imaging tool with an ultrasound machine that tells you your real vascular age and detects plaque years before symptoms ever show up. And I'm going to walk you through how I use this in my clinic, what it showed me about my own health, and why I believe it's one of the most important tests that most people have never heard of. You go to the doctor and you get a cholesterol test, and that's all they gauge your risk levels on. And this has nothing to do with it. If you've ever been told everything looks fine, but something inside you says otherwise, this episode is for you. So let me tell you about my story. So I first encountered the CIMT, which is carotid intima media test. This technology, I came across it at a longevity conference years ago. At the time, I was intrigued, but not overly concerned. I felt great. I had a good lifestyle. I exercised regularly. I ate well. And I had, functionally optimal labs. But I got the scan anyway, just to see. And what I found totally shocked me. I had early soft plaque building up in my arteries. My vascular age, a few years older than my biological age. That moment changed everything. I took action. I did more advanced blood work. We did lifestyle fine-tuning optimization. I did some protocols with endothelial repair, which is the blood vessel and artery repair protocols. And it took a gut health, hormone optimization, and 7 months later, I had reversed my biological and vascular age by 15 years. That's 15 years. That's when I knew this test wasn't optional. It was essential. That's when I rebranded CIMT to what it truly is, a heart threat scan, because that's exactly what it can detect. Threats that are real, but invisible unless you know where to look. We have to answer, why is the standard heart screenings failing? And what's the science of plaque? Well, the reason most people never see heart disease coming is because the tests that doctors rely on are designed to detect disease late stage. That is, means after 70% or more blockage is already there. And by that time that you're 70% blocked, that's when a stress test or an angiogram finally lights up. But by then, it's often too late. Now, let's dive deep into what's really happening long before that crisis moment. It starts with what's called endothelial dysfunction. Endo, internal, thelial, skin. It's the linings of your arteries and blood vessels. And the inner linings of your blood vessels become damaged from inflammation, poor lifestyle, poor diet, toxins, high blood sugar, oxidative stress, and especially hypertension. So this damage causes the arteries to become hyperpermeable, which means these little tiny gaps in the blood vessel wall form, little cracks. And that's where LDL cholesterol, the so-called, bad cholesterol, comes in. And here's the truth. LDL cholesterol inherently is not bad. It's a transport molecule made by your liver to carry fats and hormones and nutrients to your brain, to your muscles, to your heart, throughout the entire body. So it's an essential molecule that's been demonized by the medical system. But when LDL slips into those damaged arterial walls, it's so small, it's so tiny, it can get stuck. And over time, those LDL particles pile up and become oxidized, meaning they turn toxic by free radicals. So this is where the immune system jumps in. Your white blood cells rush to the scene of the mess, and they morph into macrophages, meaning they're eaters now. They begin engulfing the oxidized LDL to protect the blood vessel, trying to clean up the mess. That's what your immune system does. Well, in doing so, they become what are called foam cells because they eat so much of this LDL. They look bloated and dysfunctional immune cells that cannot leave the blood vessel. As this cycle repeats year after year, foam cells accumulate and form the core of arterial plaque. It starts soft, then it becomes heterogeneous, meaning a mixture of soft and calcification, and eventually it completely calcifies. And by the time calcification shows up on a scan, most of the damage is already done. Where's the real danger? Soft plaque in the beginning, because it's unstable. It can rupture, and it's invisible to the tests most people get at their cardiologist or PCP. So that's why we use the heart threat scan at the Echelon Center for Longevity, because it catches soft plaque. It measures the arterial wall thickness, and it gives you insight into your vascular age, not just your cholesterol number, which has very little meaning. That's just an artifact. So this is how we catch what others miss. And it's why we must shift from a symptom-first model to a function-first model before it's too late. What is the clinical impact of this? Well, let me tell you about a patient named Lisa. She was 54, lean, she was active, she ate clean, and she had 0 symptoms. Well, she came in because her close friend had just had a stroke, and it startled her. She wanted to be proactive. Her doctor told her she didn't need anything special in regards of testing, but something didn't sit quite right with her. So when she came in, we ran the heart threat scan, and we got her vasometrics, and it showed significant soft plaque buildup in her carotid arteries on both left and right. Her intermediate thickness was elevated, and she had no idea. On top of that, we ran a functional longevity blood lab and found biomarkers that showed elevated levels of oxidative stress, early insulin resistance, and borderline high TMAO. We'll talk about that a little bit. But within 3 months of targeted intervention, peptides, dietary upgrades, gut health, nitric oxide support, and lifestyle adjustments, we retested the heart threat scan, and her inflammation markers had dropped, her energy improved, and her follow-up heart threat scan showed regression of the plaque. She had reversed her arterial age by about 8 years. Her conventional labs still looked normal, according to her regular doctor. This is why we test, because I feel fine is not a reliable indicator of health. It's often the most dangerous assumption you can make. Well, I feel fine. Well, symptoms don't show up until you're past 70% dysfunction, and my cholesterol is normal. It doesn't mean anything if you've got inflammatory instability, silent endothelial damage, or oxidative stress raging inside your arteries. That's where the damage is coming from, not the cholesterol. Get that out of your head. So this is what changes when you go upstream, as you get real data that moves the needle. And it's going to empower you. If you're over 40, and especially if you've got things to do in life, you're ambitious and you're high functioning, and you're pushing yourself daily, doing things, accomplishing things, you need to know what's happening in your arteries. Hands down, full stop. But this isn't just for people who are at risk. It's for anyone who's proactive.
anyone who wants to optimize their health, because what you walk away with after the heart threat scan isn't just a number, it's a report, a vasometrics report showing your vascular age, your plaque type, your arterial thickness, and whether your lifestyle and habits are keeping you young or quietly aging you faster than your calendar says. The most powerful part about this is you can do something with it. There's a solution, there's a next step. If we find soft plaque, we intervene early. It's not a wait and see method. If we see accelerated intimate media thickness of your arteries, that means your whole system is that way. We target the inflammation, the oxidation, and root causes, and we track progress over time with retesting of the blood labs and the heart threat scan. And you'll see your risk change in real time. You'll see your numbers improve. And more importantly, you'll feel it, you'll look it, and you'll perform it in your energy, in your clarity, your confidence. This is what true prevention looks like. And it's how you gain control over your biological future. It's how you gain control over your health span by impacting your health span preventatively. Okay, so I just want to recap again. The LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, is just a transport vehicle. You got to understand that. It delivers cholesterol where it's needed. What makes it dangerous is when it gets trapped in your damaged arteries and then oxidizes. Now your damaged arteries are damaged from your lifestyle, inflammation, high blood pressure. So that's when the trouble starts. The real problem isn't cholesterol itself. It's the oxidized LDL cholesterol after it becomes trapped. And you only find that on advanced blood panels. Your cardiologist isn't going to check this. No standard tests are going to check this. Also, many people with normal cholesterol still suffer strokes and heart attacks. Why is that? Because those tests don't assess plaque vulnerability. They're ignoring it. They don't test inflammation or endothelial damage. It's not about the number, it's about the context. So this is why our clients come to us, not just to get more tests, but to get the right tests. We test, not guess. That's our motto. So these tests are interpreted through the lens of longevity and prevention, which is a very different set of goggles to put on. If you're listening and you want to know more about where your vascular health really stands, go to echelon-longevity.com/quiz and take the free vascular age quiz. It could give you answers that your doctor hasn't even considered. Then you can get an opportunity to get your own heart threat scan. You're not powerless in this process. You're not just getting older. Don't believe that. You're not stuck, and you're definitely not too late. So even if you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s. So when you understand how your body is aging and what your arteries are telling you, everything changes. You move from fear and unknown to clarity and confidence and peace of mind that your future is going to get better, from reaction to prevention. And that's the whole point of this show. We're not just talking about longevity, we're mapping it with evidence, with action. The next episode, we're going to break down the full diagnostic stack that we use at Echelon Center, from the labs, the blood labs, and how extensive those labs are, to the biological age testing, to advanced testing, and why we order and run them in the order that we do. It makes all the difference. So again, the heart threat scan is the real starting point, though, that gives us an idea of where your vascular age is versus your biological age. That's the next episode, and I look forward to seeing you there. And let's get to it. Let's get into it.
If you're feeling like your energy, your edge, or your clarity just isn't what it used to be, you're not alone. But you're also not stuck. Every week on Unbreakable Vitality, we explore real strategies to reverse aging, reclaim vitality, and rewrite what's possible. If today's episode gave you even one insight, pass it on. Then go take the free vascular age quiz at echelon-longevity.com/quiz to see how your body's aging. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us, because your future isn't on autopilot. You are building it, and you're just getting started.